This AC game stars a young, good-looking, well-built assassin in a new location, chasing down a Templar Grand Master to find a MacGuffin. Oh, and there's a mentor figure as well. Hello? You're still there? Haven't left yet? Haven't seen something more interesting in the recommended section? Okay then, let's do the review. Assassin's Creed Chronicles China is the first in a planned trilogy of shorter, smaller Assassin's Creed games. These are meant to follow the stories of other assassins outside those portrayed in the main series. They are meant to be smaller in scale, shorter in length, and from what I can tell, allow the studio to experiment with new gameplay for the franchise without risking upsetting the established formula of the main series. So let's see how the first of these games kicks off the trilogy. We'll start with story.
You've come far for someone who was merely once a concubine. I will ask you again, assassin. What is this box? Where did it come from, and what is its purpose? Why continue to resist us? Look around you. No one is coming. We wiped out your order. There is no escape from here.
Why would I want to escape? I am exactly where I want to be.
Now, you might have guessed this already, but this game is set in China. Xiao Jun is the last remaining member of the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. She returns to her country at the fall of the Ming Dynasty to exact revenge on the Templars for destroying her brotherhood and also begin rebuilding said brotherhood. On her journey, she learns that sometimes there's a heavy price to pay for attaining your vengeance, and this builds her into a stronger character after witnessing the loss of many innocent lives in her campaign to destroy the Templars. Alright, I'll be straight with you. What I've just given you is the fans' interpretation of this story. Now, I'm a fan of the series, I've followed it since the original, but I'm also a reviewer, okay? The critics' interpretation of this is that this is version ABX5 of Ubisoft's recycled Assassin's Creed plot. It involves presenting a young, good-looking, well-built assassin, usually with some mentor who for some reason must kill off a checklist of Templars in one of a variety of locations in order to retrieve one of a variety of MacGuffins. This iteration has the assassin as Xiao Jun, the location as China, the Templars as the Tigers, and the MacGuffin as some box that they don't even really explain, and the mentor is present and accounted for in the form of fan favorite Ezio Auditore, who appears in flashbacks to train Xiao Jun. Now, personally, I don't have a problem with this blueprint, as it's usually pretty well done and offers a variety of locations and interesting characters to meet. The story here is serviceable at best, to be honest. None of the characters is particularly interesting. We don't learn much about the Tigers except that there are enemies that need to die, and unfortunately Xiao Jun doesn't meet the usual host of interesting side characters. Now, I can let this go as this was meant to be a smaller game. Still, it would have been nice to get to know a little more about Xiao Jun or her enemies. So let's take a look at gameplay.
My revenge can begin now.
Now, remember how I say the story sticks to Ubisoft's established formula? The gameplay here does a 180 and goes the opposite way. This game seems to be focused on being a stealth game first and action game second. In fact, the gameplay very much reminds me of my time with Mark of the Ninja. It's a 2.5D stealth game where the goal is to get to the objective using all available tools and techniques. The cleanest way is to avoid all guards and slip through unseen, and the dirtiest of course would be to fight and kill them all. Now, earlier in the game, the enemies are relatively easy to kill and it could make more sense to go with the gung-ho approach, but later in the game the tougher enemies make stealth a much more feasible option for getting through the levels. Now, Shao Jun has a few gadgets and upgrades that can be earned throughout the game that pretty much all focus on distracting enemies and creating new paths. Dead enemies can be moved out of sight to prevent alarms from being triggered and reinforcements from coming in. There is also multiple paths that can be taken in each level and side missions that can be attempted to earn extra points. I found this gameplay pretty interesting. I've always loved stealth games that have the action approach as an option. Think Deus Ex or Dishonored. My problem with the gameplay here is the AI. The ease with which they forget that they've just seen an assassin totally breaks immersion and undermines the benefits of clean stealth. There's a scorekeeping mechanism that rewards you more for clean stealth, but still, I would have preferred that the enemies in the game pay a little more attention to someone who can pretty much kill them all. The game also has a Game Plus mode where you have all the gadgets and upgrades earned through the first playthrough available from the beginning. There's another one of these where the enemies are now much more difficult to kill, and the presence of these two modes adds to the replayability of the game because new paths are available to you and there are more interesting ways that you can approach the levels, including time modes and such things, which is, more gameplay value is always good, so that's a plus. So, graphics then. Now the graphics here are perhaps what I find the most interesting aspect. Not the best, but by far the most interesting element. The team went for a brush painting visual aesthetic, having the various elements in the game and in cutscenes have a painted look. This works surprisingly well for the explosions, blood and smoke, and actually pretty smartly allows the low budget game to look very good without having to rely on 3D visual effects. Now the game is 2.5D, so there are 3D models in the game as well. These don't look as amazing and definitely remind you that you're playing a smaller scale game. Overall, the 3D graphics are nothing to write home about, but the brush painted art style is definitely interesting to look at and keeps the game looking unique and striking. Let's listen to the music. I was a little less impressed with the music department of this game. To me, none of the scores used really stayed. I could say maybe there were moments when the old Assassin's Creed theme would play in a level or a scene that made me smile out of nostalgia. Other than that, the new music didn't stick. I find that disappointing considering they had the Chinese background to work with. I've always liked Asian music, being a fan of anime, but I was disappointed with this. Now on the voice acting end, sadly, this game falls in a way that many games in the series already have. None of the accents is believable. Xiao Jun seems to jarringly alternate between having and losing her Chinese accent. The Templars aren't very convincing either, and all this pulls the game down a level. The only saving grace here is the enemies speak Chinese, and so I guess I just have to trust that they're saying something cool. Sound effects on the other hand are solid and get the job done. So, when listing the pros and cons sections of AC China, I'd say what the game gets right for me is the fun, challenging gameplay, high replay value due to branching paths in levels, and an interesting visual aesthetic. Where the game disappoints is in the questionable AI and the uninspired voice acting. So my final thoughts on Assassin's Creed Chronicles China. I'm impressed with what the game sets out to achieve. I always welcome varying gameplay and will always appreciate stealth. However, this game also does little to help the series battle with its greatest problem at the moment. The stories and characters just aren't that interesting anymore. There is still 2 games left in this series and I hope one or both will remind me of how amazing the Assassins vs Templars conflict used to be. For now, SC China is just a fun little game and I recommend it to series fans, lovers of stealth, and people looking to play something a little different from the usual Assassin's Creed gameplay. Alright, that's the review. Thanks for watching, and if you have any theories as to why the assassins keep monologuing to themselves, please share them below, and I'll see you next time.